Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Marilyn Abramson, and today we're diving into a topic that many of you have been asking me about, and that is overcoming word retrieval problems. If you've ever struggled to find the right words or felt like you were losing words in the middle of a sentence, or even losing your train of thought just as you're about to say something and you want practical exercises to boost your word recall, then you are in the right place. As always, if you find this content helpful, make sure to give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you're always notified when we post a video and you never miss out. Okay, now let's get started. Before we jump in, I want to take a moment to understand exactly what word retrieval problems are. When you're dealing with a change that can happen to the brain for a variety of reasons, such as a post-concussion syndrome or overcoming surgery or brain fog after having COVID, what else? Menopause, even just natural aging. It's really common to experience cognitive challenges, and this includes struggling to remember words, or feeling like your mind goes blank in the middle of a conversation, or having difficulty expressing your thoughts clearly. And it can be incredibly frustrating. But remember that you're not alone in this. And I'm thinking that most of you watching this right now are shaking your head yes, as I'm ticking off the symptoms. And the best news of all is that there are strategies that can help. So let's move on to the meat of today's video, which is I'm going to give you 8 practical tips and exercises to help you improve your word recall and your communication skills. Number 1, engage in mindfulness and relaxation. Now, I know that sounds like I'm sort of pushing this off, but have you ever felt anxious in a conversation with someone, almost as if you're under pressure to respond? And in this situation, you may come off sounding hesitant or unsure of yourself, even if you know what you're talking about. And that's because sometimes a loss of words in a conversation can be caused by the distraction that can come from anxiety. And one effective way to combat word retrieval difficulties from anxiety, or nerves, basically, is through mindfulness and relaxation techniques. So practice some deep breathing, some meditation, some yoga, because these are great ways to just overall help reduce stress and anxiety. And that can directly impact your ability to communicate, to find the right words. Number 2, learn techniques like chunking and association. And chunking actually means breaking down big complex ideas into smaller chunks and then associating them with familiar concepts. This can make it easier to retrieve words and to express yourself more clearly. Now, let me explain how to do this. So, for example, if you're trying to talk about your vacation and you're having trouble articulating it clearly because there's just so much to talk about and it's just, so overwhelming, then try breaking down the vacation into components, like where you went on the vacation, any excursions that you did, and maybe the ones that were the most memorable for you. Tip number 3, play word games and puzzles. I'm talking about games that challenge your brain's linguistic abilities. These include games like crossword puzzles, word searches, and even Scrabble. These are all games that can stimulate your word recall and, of course, at the same time, keep your mind active. Tip number 4, keep a journal. This can be immensely helpful because it really helps you to organize your thoughts just by getting them down on paper. Sometimes a loss of words can be a problem with something called thought organization. And, just keeping everything in your head organized and then getting it out when you're talking to someone can be challenging. But this practice journaling not only allows you to express yourself freely on paper, but also encourages regular use of the language area of the brain. And this improves word retrieval over time. Plus, it's a really cathartic way to either begin or end your day. Tip number 5, if you really get stuck, use synonyms and descriptive language to get your point across. Now, as a speech language pathologist working in a hospital, I used to always tell my patients that it's important to lower their expectations when it came to successful communication. Because for some of them, it just wasn't realistic to think that their communication would be perfect all the time. Now, language is defined as a series of symbols that are common between the communicator and the listener. And that means that once the listener understands the message, then communication has been a success, no matter how they got there. Even if it's pointing at something, using description, beating around the bush, or simply just gazing at a particular object. If the listener got the message, then mission accomplished. So if you can't think of a specific word, try describing it using synonyms or other related words or phrases to get your message across. Doing this can also often jog your memory and lead you to the word that you're searching for. So lower your expectations and don't worry about perfection. Tip number 6, speak slowly and thoughtfully. And in a nutshell, that just really means take your time when you're speaking. Give yourself permission to speak slowly and thoughtfully, because rushing can lead to more word retrieval difficulties because you're really just putting pressure on yourself to come up with all of these concepts and words faster than you feel comfortable. So by speaking at a measured pace, you can feel more more confident, more comfortable in, whatever it is you're talking about. And when you have more confidence, it will significantly improve your communication. Tip number 7, try word association exercises to improve your word retrieval. Now, this is an exercise, not necessarily something that you would use in a conversation, but one way of doing this is to choose a random word and then challenge yourself to come up with as many related words as possible, giving yourself a time limit. Now, giving yourself a time limit is great as well because that works on processing speed. And we know that sometimes losing the words in conversation is just a matter of processing speed, which naturally slows down as we get older. And, you're expecting yourself to come up with these words really quickly, but because your processing speed is a little slower sometimes, you have to kind of give yourself time to catch up. So doing a word game exercise like this can exercise and strengthen the connections between the words in your mind. So for example, try coming up with a word like the word pool, and then give yourself a time limit and come up with as many related words as you can: water, swimming, diving board, filter, so on. And then challenge yourself with words that are sort of more obscure as you get better at this exercise. And last but not least, tip number 8, use memory techniques, because some of them are so powerful. Like, for example, visualization, so powerful because it can help you store memories and make connections between words. So if you get stuck on the name of an item, sometimes, not always, but sometimes visualizing it can help you retrieve the name of the item. So let's say we're trying to think of the word lawnmower. Simply visualizing a lawnmower can be so helpful sometimes because it taps into the power of your visual memory and can make it easier to remember the name. So that's it. A collection of practical exercises and tips to help you overcome word retrieval difficulties, especially when you're dealing with cognitive changes for so many different reasons. Remember, progress takes time, so be patient with yourself. Mix and match the strategies to find out what works best for you. And if you feel you need more help, Doreen and I would love to be able to help you in the Long Live Your Brain program. This is an 8-week group online brain training program that will teach you first how to nourish and support your brain, then how to manage your mindset, and finally, to use your brain differently for the kind of focused attention and memory that you never thought you'd probably be able to have again. For more information, visit our website at longliveyourbrain.com and schedule a free consultation with us to see if this program is a good fit for you. Again, it's longliveyourbrain.com, or you can click the link to the website in the notes below this video. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who might benefit. And of course, subscribe to our channel for more valuable content. Thank you. And until next time, take care. Keep practicing those word retrieval exercises. You've got this. See you soon.